with this whole idea of the bottom of the pyramid, which is where I work right now. We sell diapers, yeah? And trust me, you don't get more bottoms than that anywhere in any other business, okay? So that's really what we do. And somewhere along the way, something else happened, a book. And the reason I want to share this with you is really this, that, at the end of the day, it's important to nurture your dream, okay? It's important to not lose sight of that little dream that keeps you excited. Because at the end of the day, it's unlikely, when you're sitting on that rocking chair in the winter of your life, it's unlikely that you will ask yourself, "Acha, meri gaadi kaun si thi?" Or, mere card pe kya likha tha? Or, wo ghar kitna square foot ka hai, right? I don't think those are things you'll worry about. You'll really worry about those dreams that you actually nurtured and saw coming true. And I think that's an important one to remember, that never mind what you do from here on, and I'm sure work will demand that you do lots of things, but remember, don't lose sight of your dreams, okay? And really what I want to do today is to share some of these lessons with you on what it means to have the habit of winning and what it can do and what you can do. And to understand that philosophy, I want to start with a simple story. It's a story of this statue in Florence, Italy. It's the statue of David, okay? And there's people who go to Florence and see this come back, hugely impressed. They say, "Wow, what a statue, what a piece of work." They probably don't come back knowing the story behind the sculpting of David. The story goes that there was this large slab of marble, single piece, 20 feet long. And, those guys wanted someone to make something out of it, and they showed it to several artists. And all of them saw that piece of marble and said, "It's flawed. Kuch gadbad hai. Something is wrong with this." And they refused to work on it. And for many years, that piece of marble was seen as, really one long piece, but flawed. Something's wrong with it. Can't really do much with it. And it's around this time that young Michelangelo took on the task of saying, "Let me try and make something out of it." Okay? And he took on this piece of marble, took it to his workshop, and started working on it. And, went away banging on it, hammers, chisels, all of that. And a little kid apparently came to his workshop, heard the noise, and said, "What are you doing?" And Michelangelo said, looked at him, smiled, and he says, "Why are you banging that marble so hard?" And he said, "Young man, there's an angel inside, and I'm trying to help set it free." Okay? And if you think about it, that's true for all of us. I think there's a winner inside each of us. There's a leader inside each of us. The problem is, there are these little bits of marble, little extra bits that need to be chiseled, taken away for that winner to actually emerge and come out into this world. And what I've tried to do is to say that, instead of using hammers and chisels and that strong left hand, there could be other ways of doing it, which is to tell stories. And if you tell stories, you'll probably find that you can use stories to actually remove some of those unwanted pieces and allow that leader to emerge. Because the truth is, we are all leaders. Some of us might lead small teams, some of us might lead organizations, some people lead armies, some people lead countries, but eventually all of us lead a life, our own, okay? And we are responsible for that life. And I think it's an important one to try and ensure that, look, there is that winner inside. What can we now do to actually help him set that man free? So what I want to do is to start with that ultimate symbol of achievement, okay? The highest peak in the world, Mount Everest, okay? Now, it's an interesting one, and let me ask you a question. If two people want to climb that mountain, what's the most important thing they would need? And, typical answers would be they would need, let's say, equipment. So you need oxygen cylinders, good masks, you need shoes, you need protective clothing. What else do you need? You probably need training, and therefore you have the famous, the real IIM, which is the Indian Institute of Mountaineering. So you've got to learn something about how to climb a hill. You need that too. What else do you need? You probably need favorable weather conditions because, if the weather is against you, you can't do much. But guess what? You know what you really need? If you want to climb a mountain, the most important thing you need is you need a mountain. Yeah? So we need a goal. You need You need that mountain to climb. The problem with most of us is we go about our lives without that mountain, without that goal, and then we complain about our equipment. Mera wo PC slow hai, not quick enough. Or, my goodness, I only have an iPhone 3, not the latest 4S. Or, we say we are not trained well enough, so we start worrying about training. Or we say, the weather is bad, environment is bad, what do I do? We blame our luck, we blame circumstances. I came from a small school, small town, can't speak. So we find all those excuses. The truth is, find a mountain. Get yourself a goal. And once you do that, you'll suddenly find everything else changes for you. You'll find, equipment doesn't matter. Whatever you have, you'll make the most of it. You'll find that training is available. You'll suddenly find people reaching out to you to share secrets, to tell you how to climb mountains. And suddenly, you'll find that the weather, is incidental. And that's really what you need. You need a mountain. You need a goal to get started. So really in business, it all starts with a vision. And I think it's important to ensure that you have that vision that's spelled out. And in many companies, people believe that vision is this wonderful slogan that will appear behind the CEO's desk. Not true. Let me try and tell you a little story about what happened one day in Milan. Apparently a lady was walking the street, and she had these fashion, shopping bags in her hand. She was whistling a tune to herself. Walking along, sunny afternoon, when she hears this noise, clack, 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 clack. So she goes up to this man. She sees that's where the noise is coming from and says, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" He looks up, almost with that disgust, wipes the sweat off his brow and says, "Can't you see? I'm breaking stones." So she goes a little further ahead, and guess what? The noise doesn't go away. So she can still hear the clack, 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 clack. So she kind of looks at that guy, and she says, "Excuse me, what are you doing here?" He says, "Me? I'm helping to build the world's tallest cathedral." Yeah? Two people doing the same job. One person saw his role as breaking stones. Another man saw his role as building the world's tallest cathedral. Now, I think that makes a huge difference. And I think the question to ask yourself is, if you work for an organization, when you start going to work, what do you see your role as? Do you see yourself as breaking stones, or do you see yourself as helping to build the world's tallest cathedral? You might be running a great customer service business, but what does that lady who answers the telephone in your office, what does she see her role as? What does a salesman who's selling your product, what does he see his role as? It's tempting to believe that, each of these guys don't necessarily share that grand vision. And the great guys have figured that if you want something to happen, share that vision. And I must tell you that at Pepsi, for example, we had a leader called Suman Sinha, who really made people believe that the reason for existence was to kill the other guy. Yeah? So if you ask the salesman, and we had a lot of these guys who would drive trucks, and some of them became famous. One of those Sardars actually appeared in a film with Sachin Tendulkar for Pepsi. And if you ask one of those people, what do you do? I don't think he would say, "Main Pepsi bechta hu." He'd probably say, "Main Coke ki," well, sorry, can't say the rest of it. So, that's what he'd probably do. That's the kind of stuff that makes these people special. Look at this guy, John F. Kennedy, American president. He had this grand dream. He wanted to put an American on the moon and bring him back alive. Story goes that on one of his regular trips, he was out to try and review the progress that they were making at NASA. So he was trying to figure out what's happening, where they were. And as he was walking the corridors of that space center near Florida, he saw a janitor, a woman, who was ostensibly sweeping the floor that time. And she quickly pushed the broom behind and, stood straight. And he asked her, smiled, and he says, "What do you do here?" You know what the lady said? She said, "I'm helping America put a man on the moon." And I think it's this ability to share a vision with a larger group, with larger people, that makes leaders truly special, that makes teams suddenly believe that they can do a hell of a lot more. I now want to tell you the story of a man called Karli Takacs. Okay? I'm not sure if any of you have heard of him, but it's a story that I think you must hear. Takacs was a soldier, a soldier in the Hungarian army. Okay? He was a sergeant, actually. And apart from that, he was also the country's best pistol shooter. In fact, one of the world's best pistol shooters. He'd won the world championship And now we're talking about the year 1938. Prakash is 28 years old and widely tipped to win the shooting gold in the upcoming Tokyo Olympics, which is 1930. Guess what happens? In one of those regular army training routines, Prakash throws a grenade. But unfortunately, the grenade explodes in his hand before it leaves his hand. And it just rips off his right arm from his shoulder. Okay? That arm, which was potentially a gold medal winning arm, was gone. The arm, which was, really the world's best shooting hand, was gone. Prakash was in hospital. Clearly, his dreams had come shattering down. He was completely, obviously beaten. And most people at this time would have probably said, why me? Why does God pick on me for this? Why would they do this to me? And, you'd understand if this man then forgot about all of this and became a recluse and, no one heard of him again after that. But Prakash was made of sterner stuff. Within 30 days of being in hospital, he said, you know what, this is getting boring. What do I do? And he said, look, what can I do? I still have, I've lost my hand, but let me forget about it. Let me forget about what I don't have. Let me focus on what I have. I still have the desire to actually win a goal. I still have the ambition. I still have the determination. I'm still the same guy. And let me do something about it. So on the 30th day from hospital, he goes out into a shooting range and starts shooting with his left hand. Okay? And that's an interesting one because, he says a hand which could not even take a cup of coffee and put it to his lips without spilling it, suddenly gets trained to shoot. Okay? And, 6 months later, there's the National Shooting Championship, and Prakash goes there, and, all those guys look at him and say, wow, Carly, so nice of you to come here to see us shooting. And he says, I haven't come here to see you shoot. I've come to compete. Okay? So shooting with his left hand, Prakash starts going back to shooting. To cut a long story short, 2 wars intervene, so the Olympics don't happen. And then in 1940, I think, or was it 38, the Olympics come to London, and Prakash is chosen by Hungary to actually go and shoot for them. And it's an interesting sidelight that in the end of the Olympics, winner of the gold medal in the pistol shooting event was a man shooting with his left hand called Prakash. Yeah?